This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Welcome to the Row 1, Seat 1 podcast. This is Ben, a.k.a. Boston Nuga. Man, it's been a hell of a week, and independent wrestling has been affected. Everyone's been affected, but my show focuses on independent wrestling the most. And what can I say? What can I say? This coronavirus is real scary. Right now, it's about Sunday night, and the CDC has just said that no gatherings of over 50 people should be anywhere in the country, and it looks like states are going to start to enact that. Well, that means independent wrestling. That means independent wrestling shows and all these plans that independent wrestling promotions have laid out are pretty much gone for the foreseeable future. So it's, you're going to see a lot of promotions struggling, falling by the wayside. It's a real scary time in the world of independent wrestling, in the world in general. We're all just kind of going through this right now, and varying degrees of depression and anxiety. And man, my heart goes out to everyone who's listening to this show. But what I want to do over the next couple weeks and next couple months is highlight some of these independent wrestlers and independent wrestling promotions that are kind of affected by this coronavirus, and try to shed some light on them. Kind of get to know their stories a little bit, and just kind of get to know them as three-dimensional people. Kind of what this podcast has done over time, but really, maybe even a little bit more so during this this scary time. So what you're going to hear on this show is going to be couple interviews with some wrestlers. One of them, I will just freely admit, I had a long interview with Nick Iggy of the Carnies. I was kind of out to lunch because the news was just flowing by left and right. He did a great job. I was not doing as great a job. I apologize profusely. It was also during a time when we thought the Mania shows were going to happen. I don't know if they're going to happen or not, but a lot of that time is spent promoting his WrestleMania week show. As of right now, it's on. As of the time you hear this, it may not be on. Everything is in such a state of flux, as you guys know listening to the show. Everything is just changing at a rapid pace. So if this show can give you guys, a little break from the real world, if it can give you guys, some time to just think about wrestling for a little while and not about the real world, that's kind of what I hope to do. And, just kind of shed some light on some professional wrestlers that you may not otherwise know and may want to learn a little bit about. That's really my goal. And there's, we're going to have some time on our hands. So, hopefully you guys can kick back and relax and, maybe just I'll try to pump out some more shows over the next few weeks. Just try to highlight some of these people. But it's a scary time, man. It's a scary, scary time. And just be there for each other. Just try to support one another in this time of need, because we're all in it together. And it's just all we can do is just be there for each other. A little bit about Place to Be. Mine is obviously not the only show that you can listen to while you have this time on your hands while we're all shut in our house. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, Chris Zellner and Devin Hales gave their reaction to the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. On You Don't Know, Billy Jack, Drew, and Jordan discussed the epic Masawa vs. Kobashi match from 120.97. On the Special Relations podcast, across the pond, the bonus episode, they concluded their GWE list. On the newest episode of With This Ring, Ryan and Cindy discussed some of the greatest Survivor Series matches in history. On Row 1, Seat 1, I talked about my trip to St. Louis. On the Place to Be Nation pop feed, you guys are going to get a lot of stuff to listen to while you're stuck in the house. Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, The Year in Pop, Laugh-In Theater, DC4U, The Great Debate, Marvel Age, and so much more. If you're interested in, pop culture, this is your time. Listen to some cool podcasts. The Jenny Position has some cool podcasts as well with Jennifer Smith. Geek and Sassy, Talking Pop, Freak Out Drive-In, Telling Stories, and Journey Through Infinity. Jenny's really cool. Listen to some of her stuff. She just, she brings it. JT has started the new North-South Connection. With JT and Chad Campbell, Wrestling Warzone, No Holds Barred, The Extreme Three-Way Dance, and Jeff Learns Wrestling, and more. That's a cool new podcast feed that has just started. Started by, you guys know JT. He has some great stuff, and he's real excited about this new North-South Connection. If you want to start diving into some deep dives, the greatest WCW match ever stretch project has begun. You have all year to research, promote your matches, and build your lists. Facebook.com/GWCW matches or on the Pro Wrestling Only message board. If you want to join our pay-per-view pick-and pool, it's probably not many pay-per-views for a little while, but reach out to us on social media. It isn't too late to buy in and compete for a prize. Check out PlayStation.com. You're going to have some extra time. So we have some new fresh voices bringing you articles on topics of the world of wrestling, sports, and pop culture, including Trent's SmackDown Report, This Week in the WWE, Paulie's Perspective, and Ben's Unpopular Opinion. Don't forget about Glenn Butler's weekly walk around the web as well on Wednesdays. And if you're doing online shopping, you're picking up those supplies, throw us a little love on PlayStation Nation homepage. Use PlayStationNation.com/Amazon. Takes you to Amazon, no cost to you, and helps us out as well. So, welcome back to the show. This is Ben, a.k.a. Boston Nuga. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different over the next couple weeks. Given what's been going on with the coronavirus and its effect on independent wrestling, I really want to highlight some of the independent wrestlers who have interesting stories and may not necessarily been able to get their name out there, may not necessarily been able to get their stories out there. People you don't necessarily know, but, really have a cool background and have something to tell and have something to say. And one person I really want to get out there was Big Fitz. He's a Texas wrestler, has a really cool story, and just a really fascinating dude. So Big Fitz, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, as well as we can do right now, man. It's right now it's Sunday night. Things are changing. It's been the craziest week of our lives, I think.
Yeah, just about.
It's just been something changing every single day, but the effect on independent wrestling, I think, has been really severe because a lot of these people, this is what they do, and you're one of them. Where this is something that you love and something that you do on the weekends and really enjoy, and I want to give you a little bit of a highlight, and some independent wrestlers a little bit of a highlight because this is a world that's definitely going to be heard over the next few months. With the loss of the CDC is now saying no gatherings over 50 people, till May. So independent wrestling is definitely going to be hurt. So, tell me a little bit about you, because you got a really cool story.
Well, let's see.
How'd you fall in love with wrestling?
37 years old.
How'd you fall in love with wrestling? Because you had a cool story there.
Okay. Well, my first real exposure to wrestling, I was about 10 years old, somewhere around there, and I was at my grandmother's house. I was bored, and I was just flipping through channels, and I landed on Yokozuna and Hacksaw Jim Duggan when he did that knockdown challenge.
That's the stuff right there.
And I remember sitting there. My uncle was really into boxing and stuff. So as soon as I saw a ring, I thought, okay, they're fighting. Cool, let's watch this, right? And I was sitting there, and I'm watching, and of course, Jim Duggan comes out. He's waving an American flag. He's clearly establishing himself as the guy you want to cheer for. We have the evil foreign heel and his manager out there. And, I'm sitting there and I'm watching this guy. He's clearly my hero. He's already, waving an American flag. He goes in there. He knocks down Yokozuna. Everybody's cheering. Everybody's going nuts. And then the evil manager throws the powder in his face. Yokozuna starts beating on him and, doing bonsai bombs on him. And at one point he's spitting up blood. And the paramedics go out there, and I'm just beside myself with grief because I'm 10 years old. And what I think is that, this guy waving an American flag, this hero, is getting killed on live TV. And so I'm bawling. I'm crying to my grandmother, just completely beside myself with grief. And I was immediately hooked, man. I watched wrestling, from then on. I remember there was a cartoon show too, with Hulk Hogan and some of the other guys on it. And
the Rockin'
got super into it.
Hulk Hogan Rockin' Wrestling Friends or whatever. I forget the name of it. Yeah, it's on the network now. Yeah, That was really cool when we were kids back in the day, man. Saturday morning cartoons. That was just right in there with them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the business was so well protected back then that wow, isn't this cool that they're taking this sport and they're making a cartoon out of it, And I was super into it, especially when I was in high school during the Monday Night Wars era. And then I joined the Army, and I just kind of lost track of it. I didn't really pay too much attention beyond, June of 2000 when I joined the Army.
So tell us about joining the Army, because that's a route that most wrestlers don't take.
Yeah, I never thought I would be a wrestler. I never really thought I would join the Army either, but both things seem to have happened. I joined in June of 2000. My family was kind of poor, couldn't afford to send me to college, and so I just kind of made the call. And I joined during peacetime, so I didn't think it was going to be what it turned out to be. I thought, I'd just do a few years, get my college money, and move on. And I arrived in Fort Myer, Virginia, right outside of D.C. in November of 2000. And then in September, we were doing riot control training for the IMF and World Bank meetings, which, they were expecting a little bit of demonstrations and some protests. And one of our missions was, counter-protest type of activity there. So we're out there training for that. We had our riot batons and our shields, and we were learning how to, make the scrimmage line, I guess you could call it.
Sure.
And, we're out there training for that, and they had some protesters out there, some actors to work with us. And while we were training, my buddy Bill Hintala comes out and says, "Hey, a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center." And, we're all immediately, the sensitive individuals we are, we start making fun of it, thinking, there's a drunk pilot or whatever, or, somebody was trying to join the Mile High Club and crashed. And, of course, we didn't realize at the time it was a jetliner. We thought maybe a little Cessna or something.
Oh, we all did,
and,
yeah.
A few minutes later, he came out again. He said, "Hey, platoon sergeants, you might want to get your people together. Another one just hit the World Trade Center. Something's going on." And so as we're all kind of sitting there discussing it, we heard this loud noise, and we were less than a mile, I would say, straight line distance from the Pentagon at the time.
Jesus.
So we hear this loud noise and this boom, and saw smoke pouring up from the direction of the Pentagon.
Jeez.
And so, we hauled ass back to the barracks. They put us on lockdown. They locked down the post. And we were all standing out there, but still with our riot batons too. Like, they had us trying to protect the base and the building with like riot batons. Like, what was that going to do? And the very next day, and for several weeks after that, we were on site at the Pentagon doing recovery of the people that passed inside the Pentagon.
That's got to be the scariest, most mess you up work. It's got to be on the planet.
It was pretty rough, man. You don't really expect to see something like that. We were kids. Kids aren't supposed to see things like that. And I just remember the things I saw inside that building. Like, you really get a sense for true evil existing in the world. I remember we found a few of our comrades in this room. They had died of smoke inhalation, and the windows in the Pentagon are all that you can't open them. They're blast resistant, and these particular people were trapped in that section of the building, and the windows had scratches on them from people's fingernails.
Oh my God!
So it was it was a rough time, and but I'm very proud of the work that we did there. We were able to identify and deliver the remains of every single person that was lost inside the Pentagon. It was gruesome work, but it was necessary, and I feel proud that they were able to get a proper burial.
So from there, where do you you're still in the Army? Where do you end up going?
Well, I only did one term, so I finished out my term there at the Old Guard, and then I got out to go to college. So I didn't actually get to deploy right away, and then a few years later, I went and checked the mailbox, and I had something from the Department of the Army, and I opened it up, and that thing they say never happens, where they call you back up. That's what happened. So in 2005, in October of 2005, I got told to report to Fort Benning, Georgia, to come back into the Army and go to Iraq. So I went to Iraq and spent 16 months there. And then after that, I decided that since they could call me back anyway, I may as well stay in the reserves and at least have some sort of control over where I go. So I became a drill sergeant in the reserves. I did another mobilization for a year to go to Fort Sill and train troops full time, which was also another, that's a tough job for entirely different reasons. The hours that a drill sergeant has to.
Oh, you're up, 2, 3 a.m. basically?
It depends on what you're training that day, but you're up super early. You don't get back till way late. I mean, I
Sleep is a
I
myth.
barely saw my wife, and my daughter was a newborn at the time.
Oh, jeez.
So it was a tough job. But I'm glad I did it. It was another. I tell people it's the best and worst job in the Army. The hours are crazy, the stress is insane, but you're training the next generation of soldiers, and it's pretty rewarding stuff. Plus, it gave me the character that I portray when I wrestle now.
I was going to say, what sort of things did you learn out of the Army that you now carry into your wrestling career?
The biggest thing is the ability to just deal with the suck. Wrestling is it's tough. It's physically and mentally demanding. It's painful. Even if everything goes the way you want it to, you still finish up and your body is just beat. So being able to drive on through pain and to deal with that sort of thing is probably the number one piece that I carried from the military into wrestling.
So you ended up getting out of the military when?
I stayed in the reserves until 2017.
Sure.
And I got out for good. And about that time, I was pretty new to the area still. And, like I said, I hadn't watched wrestling in years. And I heard some buddies talking about their trip to go see SmackDown. At the time, I didn't really know the guys, but they're good friends of mine now. And they were chatting about wrestling one day at church, and I wanted to make friends, so I kind of interjected myself into the conversation. We started talking, and then Presley looks at me and says, "Do you want to go? We're going on Saturday to watch wrestling." And I was confused because it's not Monday Night Raw, it's not SmackDown, And that's literally what I thought wrestling. That's all I thought was available.
There's a world of house shows out there.
Yeah, and he says, "No, we're going to this little place in Bedford called Metroplex Wrestling," and he started telling me about indie wrestling, and it blew my mind. I had no idea that there's these places all over the country that are running wrestling shows, and he said, "Dude, it's just like WWE, but on a smaller budget," and
much smaller budget.
So yeah. So he invited me out, and at the time, my wife was a photographer, and she had a photo shoot that evening. So she said, "You got to take, Brooklyn, my daughter." And I said, "Well, she's not going to like it, but I'll take her, whatever." So I took my 9-year-old girl to this wrestling show, and she absolutely loved it. And from then on, for a good year and some change, we were there every single week. Just watching, the local guys do their thing, and she was super into it. She's cheering the faces, booing the heels. She figured out very quick, kind of the nature of the business. But like I said, she's the perfect fan. She knows what's going on, but plays along anyway. And
my daughter's 6, and we have our local as well, TWE. And she loves it because she has a rule of the place, basically, and she knows who's the good guys, knows who the bad guys are, cheers and boos and claps and dances around, and it's just, and I love it too because it's the perfect father-daughter bonding.
It's great.
It's just brings
and they
us
can
together.
be themselves.
Oh, completely.
They can be loud and they can cheer and they can boo and they can talk smack, and nobody is going to get mad at them for it. Like, in fact, that's encouraged. It's a good thing, and so it's a good place for her to cut loose. And I the whole time, shortly after we started going there, the guy that owns the place, Stephen Kirby, who's a fantastic wrestler in his own right. He's one of the best kept secrets in Texas, in my opinion. But he had been bugging me like, "Hey man, you're huge and you're athletic. You should come out and do this." And I kept telling him no, like, dude, I'm closing in on 40. I'm old and I'm a dad. I can't be a wrestler, And so my daughter got so into it that she wanted to have her birthday there. So for her 9th birthday, I rented out MPX on a Sunday. I got all her favorite wrestlers there, and we had this wrestling show for her, just her and her friends and her friends' parents. And so Kirby calls me up. This is how he tricked me into the business. He calls me up and he says, "Hey, so I was thinking it'd be cool if a couple of the bad guys try to ruin her birthday and you come in and kick our asses and save the day." And, like any father, I was like, "Oh yes, this is great. I get to be the hero. Awesome." So I was totally, totally down. And so he says, "Okay, come by to training on Wednesday. I'm going to show you a few things and then we'll set something up." So he showed me how to throw a body slam. showed me a couple of different things. Her birthday comes around, and the setup was that the referee had been injured in the previous match, and he couldn't go on. So Kirby comes out and says, "Well, hey, sorry, we don't have a ref, so birthday over. Everybody get out of my building." Of course, all the kids start booing. We want to see, because she had her favorite wrestler, Jason Silver, is going to have a title match against Kirby at her birthday, and so all the kids are booing, and the ref comes out, injured, obviously injured, and says, "No, we can have Brooklyn's dad be the guest referee." And I'm like, "I don't know the rules." He's like, "Well, that's fine. We'll make it a no DQ match. All you got to do is count the 1, 2, 3. Okay, no problem. So they're doing this match, and out come the chairs and the ladders and all kinds of stuff. And at one point, Kirby gets mad at me because I didn't call something. I didn't count fast enough. And he's sitting there yelling at me, and he pushes me. So I push him back. He takes a big old bump. His buddies come out, the Impact players, Ryan Remington and Tommy Becker. They run out. They're called Larger Than Life now. Another fantastic group of wrestlers. They're a great tag team. They come out, jump in the ring, start beating on me, right? I toss him out of the ring. Dave Sagan comes over. I toss him out of the ring, too. Kirby throws a punch. I block it. I pick him up. Big body slam, And I'm standing there in the middle of the ring with my arms over my head. And all these kids are cheering for me.
You're an absolute god.
Exactly. And Jason Silver comes off the top rope, does a 450, gets the pin. The entire place, probably 80 kids from her school and from church, just going nuts and cheering. And I'm standing in the middle of the ring like, I gotta fucking do this. This is great. So I started training right after that, and I had my first match at Time Warp, which is this show where we all dress up as classic wrestlers and do fun old school matches.
So
I was
cool,
Hogan. It was great. I was Hogan, and Stephen Kirby was Big Boss Man. And because I had only been training for like 5 or 6 months at that point, so we did the match they had at the inaugural episode of Nitro. We did that match like move for move.
Oh, that's great.
And then a few months later, in actually it was just almost exactly a year ago this weekend, we did. I had my first match with my character. I was the mystery partner for a 6-man tag. And I came out. They, of course, smaller guys, they try to keep the big guy out of the ring. I came in for the hot tag, laid waste to all 3 of them.
And you're a big boy.
Yeah.
You're how big now?
Well, let's see. Do you want the wrestling answer?
We want the wrestling answer. We want the build as.
I am 6'10" and 330 pounds.
Amazing. So you're no one to mess with, especially an independent wrestling ring. You're no one to mess with whatsoever. Yeah,
it's funny because on the big stage, there's a lot of big guys, but in terms of the indies, man, like there was only one guy that was bigger than me in the Texas area, and he retired. And then there's really no one else that's my size. So it's been kind of cool to be the monster.
That's awesome. So you're definitely if your build at 6'10", you're at least 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". So that's
Yep.
That's indie huge, especially given a lot of the guys I see on the weekends. You might as well be 8 feet tall.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I get to be the big guy, and you can. It's funny because when you're this size, for example. Somebody comes over to attack you when you're on the apron, you gut them, you do that whole front flip over them into the ring, and I'll do that and then like run back and do a drop kick. And if any of the smaller, more agile guys does that, people are like, "Oh, yay, cool, that was neat." But when somebody my size launches themselves through the air and flips over somebody, people lose their minds. Like, yeah, and I've won matches with crossbodies just because of my size, something like a crossbody becomes immensely exciting when there's 300 pounds of beef flying through the air,
Amazing. So any guys we might know that you've worked over the last year or so? Anyone notable?
Most of the guys that I've worked have been local Texas boys. I've had a lot of fun matches with with the guys at MPX. Stephen Kirby, of course, like I said, he's one of the best kept secrets in Texas. I've worked him on several occasions. I worked Kiefer Bartek, who he runs New Texas Pro Wrestling now, another great promotion in the area. And I had a really fun match with him. I got to have a really cool match with Super Tex Brent McKenzie, which, he's another very, very large guy. So we got to go in there and do just big, dumb, big guy stuff. That's awesome. It was a lot of fun. At one point, he superplexed me. And between the two of us, we're probably closing in on 750 pounds.
Did you break the ring?
No, but it moved so vigorously that, like, when I watched the video later, the ref was basically launched into the air when we hit the ring. So that was tons of fun. I got to work Hardakis, and he was previously the other big monster at MPX, and I got to be one of the only people that's ever picked him up off the ground. That was cool. I've had matches with Larger Than Life, Tommy Becker and Brian Remington, who those guys are fantastic talents. Like they're going places, definitely.
And how is the scene in Texas? Is it going pretty well?
There is a lot of options in Texas, and I love it. In the DFW area alone, there's probably 5 or 6 different promotions. Most of them run kind of sporadically, but they're all fairly good. There's a lot of great talent in the DFW area. Metroplex Wrestling, of course, we're the only game in town that runs weekly. Which is nice because not only are there a lot of opportunities to work matches, but you can develop those storylines over a long term, and everybody's coming back to see what's happening next.
And it's good to get reps too, yeah.
Yeah. There's Lucha Brutal, who I have not worked for yet, but I hope to soon. It's a great promotion. Actually ran by the guy who filmed my daughter's birthday party when I first got into it. So that promotion's had a lot of good shows lately. And then again, New Texas Pro Wrestling with Kiefer Bartek. That group is putting on great shows every time they do a show. So there's a lot of great wrestling in Texas. I've done mostly MPX. I did a few shows for CWF, the Christian Wrestling Federation.
Sure.
And that was a lot of fun. I got to be a heel over there, which was cool. Whole different kind of thing.
So where do you see your career going from here? Just keep on. Do you want to just stay a weekend warrior? Do you want to, kind of expand out further, or do you see yourself just keep on getting reps, or where do you kind of see yourself branching out?
Well, to be honest, a little bit of realism is helpful here. I'm 37 years old. My body was already broken from 17 years in the military when I started. So. I enjoy it. I have a great time. I'd like to think that considering the amount of time I've been doing it, I'm doing fairly well. But I have no illusions. I don't think there's a long-term career in it for me in terms of, having it pay my bills. But, I'm going to keep doing it as long as, it's fun. My daughter and my wife enjoy it and like to watch me wrestle. And, so I'm pretty much a part-timer. That being said, I don't believe that just because I'm a part-timer means I can slack off. I really believe in, improving constantly and putting out a good product and, having quality merch and training regularly. And so, I'm not going to say if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, hey, we want to put you on TV and do all this great stuff. Sure, that'd be awesome. But, I don't see that. I don't really see that in my future.
Well, you're,
I don't think
6'10" guy. There ain't many of those out there. So
that's true. But the other thing too is, my day job. I've been very blessed and very fortunate. It takes good care of me and my family. So that's going to remain the priority. But
sure.
In the meantime, I love coming through that curtain and having my daughter standing ringside, holding up signs and cheering. And that's really what I do it for. The kids in particular, we run a family friendly show and, the kids in particular love the big, larger than life, corny, campy kind of characters. And that's me all the way, so I love taking pictures with the kids and, signing things for them and giving them high fives, all that good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, Big Fitz, how do people find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook by searching for Big Fitz. You can do that, or you can look at the Metroplex Wrestling page. I'm on Twitter at Big Fitz Fights, and that's also my handle on Instagram, although I'm not on there as much as I probably should be. But yeah, Twitter at Big Fitz Fights, and Big Fitz on Facebook. And like I said, we run in Bedford, Texas every Saturday night. Our next couple of shows are canceled because of all the craziness. Yep. Although we always run a live stream for our subscription service, so I think we're going to continue to do shows just for an empty arena, until this all calms down some.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, Big Fitz, thank you so much, my friend. It's cool getting to know you, and we're all rooting for you, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Welcome to a special edition of the Row 1 Seat 1 podcast. I want to get a few friends on for Mania Week. And what better friend in the world could you possibly have than the one and only Nick Iggy? Nick, welcome to the show.
Woo! You got a friend in me.
Set you up for that so well.
Dropping it all right. I caught it. Any Toy Story or Disney reference, I'll catch on to. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, it's an absolute pleasure. We should have done this earlier. But you're a joy. Just in the ring. I said this the other day. You are put on this earth to be an entertainer, and there's, if you haven't got a chance, they showed the match with you and Effie from Southern Underground Pro, and that may be your finest work. My God.
I think it was up there just because, like, it was so entertaining and it was so out of the ordinary, and it wasn't about the wrestling or the moves, which it's never about the wrestling or the moves. And we just told a great story that's never been told before, and we put on a finish that has never, and I can almost 100% guarantee, a finish that has never in the history of wrestling been done before.
You took a dick pic.
I took a dick pic, and that's basically the finish. I took a dick pic and gave it to him, and pure excitement, and rolled him up.
Which he will treasure always.
Which what?
Which he will treasure always.
I will treasure always. There's nothing I won't do to win.
Exactly.
I'm a Carnie. What do you expect?
You are a Carnie. Let's talk about the days as a Carnie, because that's how I got to know you as a Carnie. But when did you fall in love with wrestling? Because how does a Carnie become a Carnie, I guess, is my question.
I guess a lot of it had to do, me and Carrie were teaming for a while. I'm not going to get into the whole backstory there. And we were just kind of teaming as Team IOU at the time. And then we had the boy and his dog gimmick. We went to like another thing where we were more ourselves. But like I was the down south dandy. He was the Music City Mutt. More so like American Horror Story, Twisty and Dandy Mott, if anyone watches American Horror Story from Freak Show Season 4. And then we would just hear people talk about us because we were from Tennessee. And at the time, we were basically the only people in Tennessee that were traveling and trying to get out there and trying to make a name for ourselves. And we would always hear people just call us Southern Carnies. Oh, they're just Southern Carnies. They're not that good. They're just going to try to take your money and do the least amount of work possible when we busted our ass. But because Tennessee had this cloud around it that it's terrible wrestling, nothing good could ever come out of it, everyone just assumed that of us. So we're like, you know what? If everyone's going to call us a Carnie and call us Carnies, why not just own it and turn a negative into a positive? You know what? We will be Carnies. We will take your money. We're going to bamboozle you. We're going to do everything we can to look out for number one. So that turned into, for a while, we were the Carnies, Team IOU, kind of like as a moniker.
Sure.
And then we did the Ring of Honor camp, and which was great. We had the best feedback. Like everything went as magical as you could have imagined. Like everything was just so positive, and we did so well there. And I think it was Christopher Daniels that was like, I don't get the Team IOU thing. Like I see the Carnies, maybe drop Team IOU, go by the Carnies, maybe Nick get a top hat, and I think it'll work. And so we kind of just rolled from there. And that's how we kind of became the circus, the Carnies.
Now, who are your influences growing up? Because I mean, you're a entertaining kind of wrestler. You're not, the mixed martial arts type of wrestler, or
No.
that sort of wrestler. You're an entertainer above all else. So,
Yes.
who touched your nerves, as a kid?
I think it's just being a 90s kid and those goofy characters, and especially the Attitude Era, which they had great wrestling, but they also had great characters. But of course, like my favorite wrestler of all time, like probably 50% of wrestling out there, is Shawn Michaels. Like it's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. He was a character, but he was also a great professional wrestler. He was always entertaining. There was nothing he couldn't do. He was one of my favorites. The Hardy Boys were my favorites. Absolutely in love with Billy Gunn. Like he's done so many.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so many different gimmicks, and he knocked it out of the park with every single one. And the first time I met Billy Gunn, I'm thinking this guy's not that big.
Oh, he's like
you see him on
6'6".
TV, and he was like a medium-sized guy, and like he was looking up to Taker and Kane. And I met Billy Gunn, and I looked up to him, and I'm like, oh my god! It was like looking at the Great Khali or something. He's huge.
Yeah, he's like 6'5", 6'6", isn't he?
Yeah,
I saw him at a convention. He's humongous.
And like his arms are like the size of my head, if not bigger. Like, yeah, Billy Gunn. I've always loved Billy. He's like in one of my top 10 of all time, without a doubt.
Well, Billy Gunn facts, who I think listens, will appreciate. God bless that guy, by the way.
He's great.
He's great. He's on brand all the time. But he will definitely appreciate your love of Billy Gunn. So
he knows. He knows.
Oh, he definitely knows. He knows what's up. So you guys went on to the Ring of Honor camp, and you're making your way around Tennessee. And you mentioned you guys are the only ones that traveled.
Oh yeah.
Was there a stigma for you guys on the local scene of being the only ones that travel? Like, they're not staying home, close to home or whatever, or they think they're too big for their britches or something like that? Or was it just you guys decided in some day it's just like, no, we're going to get out of here? Because I talked to some wrestlers and they, they're perfectly fine with being in their local scene. And I talk with some wrestlers and they're saying, I'm getting the hell out of the state by any means necessary.
Yeah. I owe it all to Kerry, honestly, because growing up, I didn't watch independent wrestling. I didn't know about independent wrestling. I was a WWE kid through and through. Like, I knew about independent wrestling, like, when I started training in wrestling, obviously, but I didn't know, like, the bigger guys on the indies or the companies you need to look out for on the indies or anything. So Tennessee's got this stigma where every promoter, they see someone getting over and they want to keep them there. Like, oh, you can't take bookings there. I've done so much for you. You've got to stay here with me, and I'm going to take you to the moon and back. And, of course, they're not going to do it in a show in front of 20 people in bumfuck Tennessee. Can I curse on here? Is that cool?
You can definitely curse. Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, making sure. I don't want to overstep any boundaries. And it's just everyone gets pigeon-toed because they stay in one spot because people tell them, oh, you're so good, but you have to stay here, or you're not good enough to go anywhere else. And Kerry religiously studied independent wrestling, and like we started teaming once. Like it was supposed to be a one-off. We started teaming. We're like, hey, this could be something. Kerry's like, okay, well, we can't stay in Tennessee. We got to start traveling. And I'm like, huh? Traveling for wrestling? And like Kerry knew where to hit up. He knew where we needed to go. He knew where we needed to be. And I'm like, you know what? I trust this guy. If he says it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. And people told us we shouldn't be traveling. We should stay at our home promotions and whatnot. And we just said, fuck it. Like, there's no reason to stay because you don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. Or at the time, we were small fish in a small pond, honestly.
And not every trip was a success, but you guys kept going.
No. Oh, my God. You know how much money we've lost? We would travel to Florida and New Jersey and Chicago just for a chance. Like, I see people now doing that, especially Manders. Like, I'm going to put Manders over because that dude would travel everywhere with no promise of doing anything. I've seen him at shows that I'm booked on, and he's just sitting there, just happy to be there. But he made the drive, and now look at him. Same with AJ Gray. Like, fuck. A lot of people are doing it now. A lot of people are traveling, and they understand, like, this is the only way you're going to do something. which I love. But we've lost so much money, not even a promise for a pre-show, nothing. Like losing money, driving people to shows just for a chance to get there and have our faces be seen and our names even just thrown slightly in the mix. But fortunately, it worked out for us because we started picking up heavier bookings, getting good matches with good companies, and getting making a name for ourselves.
I was going to say, what keeps you motivated in the lean times?
Say what?
What keeps you motivated in the lean times?
The lean times?
Yeah, like when things
I've never heard of the lean times.
When things are struggling, what keeps you motivated when it doesn't have that immediate gratification payoff?
I guess just the dream and like the hope of that one day it will pay off. Like, sure. You know what? You just got to keep grinding, because if we stop, I think a lot of it was like, well, we've put up this much time and effort in. If we stop right now and we don't go to the show tomorrow, that could have been the big break. That could have been the thing that set us apart from everyone else. And it's just always taking that extra step, because if we don't take that extra step, we don't know what we're going to walk into.
Do you think being a tag team was an advantage or a disadvantage as you traveled around the Indies? Because most of the guys, probably 90 to 95% were singles. And there really aren't many tag teams on the Indies. And the fact that you guys are an established tag team, with tag team moves, tag team persona, tag team characters, you work as a unit, you think as a unit, you plan as a unit, you travel as a unit. It was an advantage or a disadvantage?
For the most part, it was an advantage. Because, like you said, we were the only ones doing it. Not the only ones doing, but one of the very few doing it. If there's 5 singles matches, if there's 6 matches on the card and 5 of them are a singles match and only one of them is a tag team match, well, guess what? They're going to want an established tag team that knows how to tag team, that knows experience and can get the job done and make another tag team look good. And I think that was our spot. Like, we knew what we were doing. We were established. Everyone knew the name of the Carnies. And it helped us, and it helped traveling, because if you're a singles guy driving by yourself, it sucks. It sucks going one way 7 hours, coming back 7 hours one way. You get no sleep. But if you're in a tag team, you at least have 2 people there. One drives, one sleeps. Switch. You get home at a normal time, I guess.
You hot tag.
You're not having you hot tag, exactly. Now, the negative part of that is if a company brings you in, well, that's a tag match. Now I have to pay 4 people for this match? I don't know. I'd rather stick to singles. So people aren't going to want to pay that extra money to bring in a tag team.
Sure. Because
it's 2 extra bodies. A lot of tag teams, you don't see tag teams getting flown. You see singles guys getting flown because it's less bodies to pay for at that point. But getting flown in, and they're not going to want to spend extra money on a tag team, which sucks. So back and forth, but I definitely saw it as an advantage.
So you guys, one thing I saw you guys really develop was a cult following. I think of, especially, in the local area and things like that. At what point do you think the Carnies really became a thing bigger than you?
If I could pinpoint it, I would tell you. But honestly, it's one of those things that kind of happens, and you don't know that it happened until after the fact. So I really can't pinpoint any certain time or any event or anything that we did that made that happen.
You have fans cosplaying as the Carnies. You have everyone in the audience decked out in Carney shirts. Your merch does crazy good. I mean, everyone I know has Carney stuff. I have 4 Carney shirts in my drawer just behind me right now.
Only 4?
Only I know. Well, it's because
we got to fix that.
The big boy sizes. That's why. You never had the big boy sizes.
We just ordered so few that they sold out quick.
Exactly.
But then, like when we order more, it's like they don't sell. So it's like, what do we do?
But you get my point. The following is for you guys probably more than any independent act I know, singles or tag. It's religious.
Yeah, and I love it. Like I honestly think we have the greatest fans because no matter what we're doing, whether it's wrestling, whether it's not wrestling, whether it's personal life, no matter what, our fans are following us and supporting us in every step of the way and always wondering how we're doing and throwing our names out there and keeping us in like good spirits and everything, which is awesome.
I
More
think
than I can ask for.
a lot of that has to be credited to you guys, though, with your engagement with the fans. If you can give any, as far as engagement with the fans, if you can give any, advice to an independent wrestler as far as, connecting with the fans, what would you give? Because, I know you, almost knew you immediately as a three-dimensional person. I almost knew Kerry immediately as a three-dimensional person. You guys immediately became friends when I was getting involved in this independent thing where you didn't have to be my friend, but you guys did, and you become friends with all of your fans. What advice would you give to an independent wrestler starting out to create that sort of engagement?
My whole thing was when I was young and I was a kid, how would I want to interact with the wrestler? Or how would I want the wrestlers to interact with me? And of course not on an independent level, but like if Shawn Michaels just started coming up and talking to me, if The Rock just started coming up and talking to me and treating me kind of like an equal, like yes, he's more famous, but he's still a normal person. I think that's the coolest thing to kind of realize, especially in today's age, because everyone, for the most part, everyone knows it's a work. So we're real people. I know you guys are real people. We don't look down on fans. We don't see fans, even though we're carnies, which throws everything out the window. Yeah. We understand that you guys are not below us. We're all equals in the world. Wrestling, I don't care if you're an NFL athlete, if you're a big name politician, if you've done this or that or whatever. We are all equal human beings. No one's above anyone. Treat everyone with love and respect and treat them how you want to be treated. And that's been my whole thing with wrestling. Like, hey, just because they're paying to see me doesn't mean I have to act like they're below me.
Yeah, there's no velvet rope with you guys at all.
No, and what good does it do? I feel like it might alienate someone. Like, yeah, get the hell away from me. You're not on my level. Now for MJF, it works because that's gimmick, and he stays in that gimmick. But it's not going to work for everyone. Like, I don't know. It's just everyone seems so negative against fans, or they used to be so negative against fans. When it's like, look, without the fans, you got nothing going on here.
Speaking of your engagement with fans, let's cut to the present and the future a little bit here. You've been working the last few months as a singles. How has that been, and how do you think the fans have embraced that over the past few months? Because I know Kerry's been off being a dad, and you've sort of taken a new approach here as a. I mean, you've worked singles before very successfully, but you really seem to embark on a singles career over the past few months. And how do you think the fans have taken to it, and how do you think you've taken to it?
I mean, I haven't lost fans, and I've gained fans, and I'm still selling merch and getting booked. So I want to say that everyone's taking that in a positive way. I'm glad Gary had one of the cutest daughters. Adorable. I hate that I hate that he had to take a baby break. I completely understand it, obviously. But I was like, okay, Gary's taking a break. Let's see what I can do as a singles for these few months. I like it, kinda. I also hate it, kinda. Like I was talking about, driving 7 hours one way and 1 way back, it sucks. Traveling alone is not always ideal. Then getting bookings, it's like the Carnies were the name. Everyone knows who the Carnies are. Booking Nick or Carrie separately, it's like, hey, we want Hall & Oates. Well, you're only going to get Hall. Sure. It's not as cool. So for that, like, it's been a little difficult in that realm, but it's been a lot of fun. Like, it's definitely been fun because I've kind of been discovering who I am as a performer even more. Because as the Carnies, like, we were like this dark, mysterious tag team, like, oh, we're gonna get ya. But that's not really me. And I could act that way. You know, I can be a dickhead. So that part of the Carnies and Nick Iggy in the Carnies was true. But I'm also a fun-loving guy who likes to joke around and doesn't like to take everything so seriously. So from my promos recently, some of my matches recently, you could really see kind of a growth from where the Carnies last left off to where I am now. It's a completely different character.
I think you developed as a wrestler too.
I definitely do too. Like, I think I got to learn more who I am as a wrestler and a character, because as a tag team there's 4 people, so you kind of have to split it evenly, like 25 25 25 25, and sometimes it's not even always like that. Sometimes I'll get like 10% of a match, 15% of a match, but doing singles I've been getting like 50%, where I'm able to do more and grow 50% more each match, which has been great. Minus the fact that during a tag match, I didn't get blown up so easily, and then during singles matches, I'm just huffing and puffing. I'm like, oh my god, I want to tag out.
So this kind of leads you to the present now. You have a big week coming up, WrestleMania week. Well, right now it's Wednesday night, and WrestleMania week is still on. Everything is as a go, and I'm hoping everything still will be. But you have your own branded show.
I do. It is called Karaoke Pro and Nick Iggy's Dad Joke Jamboree.
And quite the collection of talent you have on that show as well.
Oh, without a doubt.
TV stars and former TV stars and natty light loving people, and I mean just children, and I mean just it's a wild assemblage of human beings.
Yeah, it's great. I've tried to include like a mixture of everyone to try to make it an inclusive show. That way it wasn't all one set of people or another set of people. I tried having something there for everyone that shows up to this. And I'm real excited about it.
So what is this format going to be like? I mean, I hear Karaoke Pro, I hear Dad Joke Jamboree, I see a list that there's going to be matches there as well. Is this just going to be a variety hour, basically?
Basically, how I have it is it's going to be an 8-bracket tournament.
Oh my god!
Because we've got Sugar Dunkerton and Marco Stunt going 1-on-1 in karaoke. We have MV Young and Colin Delaney. We have Ziggy Haim and Billy Starks.
Oh my god!
And then we have Jim Nasty Boys and Pretty Proper.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so we're gonna do that.
That could be X-rated. The Gymnasty Boys doing karaoke could be X-rated.
I'm a little worried. I'm actually really worried that if it gets to Sugar Dunkerton to the Gymnasty Boys.
Oh, dear Lord.
I know. I can only imagine what that's going to be. But you could look at any of these, and like they're all going to match up very well and be an enjoyable time in a match. I'm calling them matches because the karaoke is going to be taking place in a ring. Yeah, and then we're just going to sprinkle in, like, between each match, we're going to have someone come up and tell maybe, like, 60 seconds of dad jokes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then, until we have a final winner. And, of course, we have the judges, Carrie Awful and Trip Cassidy, Solo Darling, Candy Lee, and Simon Grimm.
Fantastic.
So I think it's definitely going to make up for something special. It's going to be something different. I don't know of any other wrestling karaoke contest. I do know
there's nothing
the Gay
like
Young Classic is a thing where they do lip syncing, but it's not karaoke, so it's different.
No, there's nothing like this whatsoever. I don't know if there's ever been anything like this.
I don't think so. Like, I wish that we were able to announce this sooner because everything kind of seemed to be announced by the time we announced this. I think if we put it out a month sooner, I think it would have more eyes on it, where people wouldn't have already made plans for the shows they're going to that day.
But I mean, I still think you'll get a raucous crowd at the very least.
Oh, for sure. Like, I have no doubt that it's going to be one of the top. It's going to be the best non-wrestling show that weekend.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun, and that's really what you're going for, and that's the Nick Iggy I know. You're just a fun person.
That's what I'm all about. I like having fun. I like making people laugh, not taking everything so super seriously. Like, life's short. Life's a joke. Laugh at it.
And then the rest of the week, what else do you have going on?
That Thursday, we have Uncanny Attractions, Drags and Dropkicks, where it is all three Carnies against Main State Posse and DL Hurst and the Ugly Ducklings. That's Thursday, April 2nd.
You know what you got to watch out for, that Main State Posse, right?
What do I got to watch out for? Have you
wrestled them before?
No, I'm actually really excited. It's our first time wrestling.
They bring out a lobster buoy.
I'm allergic to lobsters.
They bring out a buoy.
I'm not.
They have a buoy and they bring it out, and it pops me so hard as someone who grew up near a lobstering town. But they're going to try to hit you over the head with the buoy, and you got to watch out for it.
Oh, come on! You think I'm scared of a little buoy?
It's not a small buoy.
I've got Carrie and Trip there. I'm not scared of anything. We don't need weapons.
You are weapons.
We are, yeah. Well, Carrie and Trip are the weapons. I'm kind of control. They're my buoys.
They're your buoys. They are your buoys. That's right.
I think that's a good way. They're my boys. My boys.
That'll be awesome.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's the first time the Carnies have got back together in how long? The full assemblage.
At least
the 3
5 months.
The 3 boys together.
Yeah, at least 5 months.
That's awesome. That's really great.
Maybe 6. It's been quite a while. But yeah, and then Friday, 2:30, Nick Iggy's Dad Joke Jamboree. And let me just talk about Uncanny Attractions real quick, because even if we weren't booked on this show, it's honestly the show I think I'm most looking forward to watching, because it's just got such a wild assembly of wrestlers and characters. And like, this one's such another show that's so inclusive, where I feel like not enough eyes are on it, because the Collective is doing its thing, and the Collective is the biggest independent, the biggest thing in independent. Yeah, like, without a doubt. So I understand everyone wanting to see everything going on in the Collective. But Uncanny Attractions has such a good card. I think all the matches might be first-time matchups.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm just so excited for it. Like, when I saw that and they hit me up about it, I was like, yes, please, I need to be on it. So I'm real excited about it. They're doing great stuff over there. I'm real excited for what the future holds for them.
Alley Cat, Cole Roderick's on that card. Effie's on that card. Sunny Kiss is on that card. Billy
Pinky
Dixon,
Sanchez.
Pinky Sanchez. Shazza.
RJ City. I Am Funny Bone. Serpentico. Candy Lee. Sue Young. Ronnie Nicole.
Everyone's favorite wrestler, Danhausen.
Daniel Housen. Sunny Kiss. Still Life with Apricots and Pears.
What a collection of human beings.
It really is such a wild collection, and I am so excited for that show. I actually thought it was at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and I just realized 2 days ago that it's at 11 p.m.
Yes.
And I'm so happy about that. It means I could leave later.
Here's the thing, too, is that for those of us, and I'm talking about myself here, but a lot of people, too, who are going to all those shows at the Collective, we might need to get off the reservation for a little bit.
Spread those wings.
I might be so sick of the sight of the Cuban Club after, a dozen shows there, that I'm just going to need to see something else, and I might as well go to a show where all my friends are at, and go to a show with a really cool card.
Yeah, it's a good thing. If you're going to go to any show that weekend that's not part of the Collective, you have to go to all the shows I'm on.
Yeah, well, I know, yeah.
I can't just choose one. I was about to say it's got to be Uncanny Attractions, but then I can't say Crux isn't up there with it, or Crab, or Fest, or Nick Iggy's Karaoke Pro, or Karaoke Pro, Nick Iggy's Dad Joke Jamboree. All so those are equals.
You're on Crab and Fest, and we'll talk about Crux in a second.
Oh, yeah. that's the only Uncanny's the only one we have Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Friday 2:30, Nick Iggy's Dad Joke Jamboree. Right after that, we have Crux, which you said we'll talk about in a second.
That's going to be insane.
Yep, which is at 5. Then later that night at 11 midnight at 11, I think it's crab wrestling, where I think it's me and Carrie against the Ugly Ducklings, against Capital Vice, and then the Gymnasty Boys.
That's gonna be wild.
Yep. And
that's another card. Kevin Sullivan is going to be there.
He is, which he was going to be on Karaoke Pro, but
didn't mention that. But
that's another story.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? I wasn't the one that booked him for it, and then so I was like, they told me, hey, he's gonna do it, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'll make the poster up for it, and they had to pull out. So I'm glad he saw it, and then they're like, hey, he can't do it at that time, so it was only up for like 20 minutes.
You get to meet Kevin Sullivan that week, though.
That's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be real cool.
Yeah.
Then
Brian
I know Jesse
on that show. A lot of the DC people are going to be on that show. I mean, that's going to be a fun show. Crab Wrestling puts out good products.
They really do. I wish it had like a bigger audience. Like not that it has a small audience, but it doesn't have the eyes on it that should. But I think they are working on that. So I think sometime at the end of 2020. Yep. There's going to be way more eyes on it. And I'm bummed that Kevin Sullivan's not on Karaoke Pro because Jesse was so excited about that.
Ben was so excited about it, too.
Oh, man. I'm so bummed that he's not there.
It's all good. You still have a great card.
Yes, but let's not talk about it. Let's move on.
Let's move on to Fest. Because
Crab is going to be great, though.
Fest is something that you've been a part of for a long time.
For quite a bit. And I don't even know where to begin with this because I think it's going to be like 7 hours long with like wrestling matches and bands playing.
Now, this is the metal show, right?
Yes.
This is where like you get to go see all your favorite wrestlers and oh, by the way, Obituary, Municipal Waste, and
Bloodlet. Yep.
Like you get to see metal bands and like this is just, I mean, can you imagine how happy Warhorse is with this show?
It's his show to have.
Can you imagine the absolute joy that man will be feeling that day?
Well, maybe because he's booked on almost every show, so he's probably going to have to run there, wrestle, and then leave.
But Warhorse is on that show.
For him.
Eric Cannon's on that show.
Danhausen again.
Matthew Justice. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Look at us thinking alike.
Yeah, Joey Ryan. I mean, something for everybody. You know, you got. I mean, Effie. I mean, you have. I mean, you're on these shows that just have. I mean, that's what I love about Mania Week is that there's just such variety and there's just such a wonderful mix of like, okay, if I don't like, you know, the steak, there's lobster, and if I don't like the lobster, there's chicken, and if I don't like the chicken, there's, you know, there's
tofu.
Pork, there's tofu. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, that's, I mean, there's something for everyone to try.
Oh, yeah, like Fest is always such a fun time. Like, they have such a mixture of characters that I love. I think you did talk about Eric Cannon. Yeah. Darren Corbin's going to be there. I'm real excited. Heather Monroe, who's out in California, like,
oh yeah,
I'm a big fan of her. So to see her, she's going to be down there. That's going to be great. Team Sea Stars,
I love that.
Think are there. I'm pretty sure I saw them.
So yeah,
they've just got so much going on there. And
who are the people you've never met who you're looking to meet? Like you're looking to actually work with on a card. You're going to be on a card with.
I'm trying to think, like, if there's anyone that
I get to meet this person and wrestle with this person, or like, be on a wrestling card with this person.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone that I haven't been on a card with yet, honestly. Besides Kevin Sullivan, because that's going to be real cool. You know, I've yet to meet Candy Lee, and she seems like a real sweetheart, so I'm excited to, like, actually meet her and hang out with her. Who else? I'm looking at the posters.
Yeah.
RJ, I've never met RJ City.
Okay. I heard he's cool.
So I think that'll be cool to meet him. He comes off like a dickhead, so I'm real excited. I'm excited about that because I come off like a dickhead sometimes. So, well, I mean, he's probably the bigger dickhead, obviously, and he's gonna own up to that 100%. But yeah, I'm gonna be running around all weekend, so I'm probably gonna bump into people I didn't think I was gonna bump into people.
Hard same, yeah.
So that's gonna be a fun weekend. I'm real excited about that.
Yeah, it's the highlight of my year. Absolutely the highlight of my year. It's going to be amazing.
And then
and you get to
Sunday,
see Obituary. Yeah, you're on Sunday too.
That Sunday, I am booked at Disney World. Yay, yay!
Nice. You're literal home away from home.
Exactly. Like I was like, oh man, like I could go home Sunday and be home in time for work on Monday, but then I'm like, but I'm down here and I have no booking Sundays, so
describe your love of the Disney company for those who are listening, because you're the most Disney-fied person I know.
They're the greatest company in the world. Like, and I know people are gonna have their things to say about it, which anyone's gonna have something to say about someone. They're monopolizing entertainment or doing this and that. Cool. Good for them. It's Disney, so I'm 100% okay with Disney monopolizing everything. I'm not going to say a bad word about Disney because everything they do is gold. Walt Disney, I would have loved to meet him. Like, there's so many quotes and so many like books I've read of him and documentaries I've watched on him. He just seems like the greatest guy. He's probably not the greatest guy according to some, but in my mind, I have like this glitter version of him. You know,
sure.
Everything that shines is not gold, but in my mind, it's all gold.
So
yeah, Disney's the best.
You get to finish your trip with your happiest place on earth.
Exactly.
With the happiest weekend on earth. That's amazing.
Exactly. You can't beat it. It's going to be fun. Unless, I know right now there's a speech going on about
yeah, I didn't even flip over to it.
The virus and if something's going to happen that weekend or not. So we'll see.
Hopefully. Knows? Who knows?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
This is going to air next week, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then everyone will know by then.
Cool. Well, Nick, Iggy, how do people find you?
Well, hold on. We got to go back to Crux.
Oh, we got to go back to Crux. Jeez. Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Well, I cannot skip over Crux.
I'm going to have Kerry on this show, too. So Kerry and I are going to talk in explicit detail about Crux. But who are you wrestling at Crux?
Bobby Orlando.
Oh, God. And his goat.
Yeah. Bobby Jr.
Bobby Jr.
Yeah. So, okay. I won't get into too much detail.
I'm going to have Kerry on the show talk about Crux as well. So Kerry
I'm really excited.
Talk about Crux, but Crux is going to be insane.
Crux is going to be great.
I might be wrestling.
In the Battle Royal, I'm guessing.
Real stupid.
Perfect. I love it. I love stupid. Like, obviously, dumb. I love stupid.
For 1,000 reasons, it's real dumb.
That's great. I think it's great. Make everyone's dream come true.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I look at it. People are going to shit on something regardless. Oh, you can't let them in a ring. You can't let them do that. Why are you doing this Battle Royal? Blah, 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 blah. Get the fuck over it. Like, stop being such a negative person. Let people have their fun. That's how I see it. Life is too short to complain about everything, especially things that people aren't involved in. I try to be as optimistic as humanly possible, but like...
I get to say I did it,
Exactly. People not being optimistic is what makes me not optimistic, which is weird. But it is what it is. Crux is going to be wild. I'm real excited for that. Bobby Orlando and me is going to be something completely different.
Completely different.
Completely different. Like, look at those two characters. What do you expect from it?
Going to be crazy.
It's going to be a good time. So I won't dwell too much on that.
Carrie and I will discuss in detail. Yes.
Yes, and you're gonna run down through every card, every match. It's gonna be a good time. I'm excited to listen to that one.
So Nick, how do people find you?
Well, you go to your Google Maps,
cool,
and you type in my address.
Okay, cool,
no,
awesome. and send you Disney DVDs, right?
Send me Disney DVDs. Oh, and also, how much more time do we have?
As much as you need, brother.
I don't need much time, but I actually just came out with a joke book.
Oh, this is correct. This is correct.
So I gotta plug this in here. It's called "There's No Punchline," an independent wrestling joke book. It features over 100 different wrestlers. Each joke is a different independent wrestler. I put the whole thing together. Illustrations are by a guy I found on Fiverr named Jose Pedro Gioskia, which I may be saying that wrong. But
he's your buddy Jose.
I guess he's my buddy. I met him on Fiverr, so like I kind of hired him. But like, yeah, he's my buddy now. Like, I like the guy. Seemed really cool. His Fiverr page, if you want to get some artwork by him, is fiverr.com/Jose, and the last name is Gioscia.
Cool.
Yeah. But I've been working on this for 3 months, maybe 4 months.
Oh, cool.
3 to 4 months. I got everyone's permission to use their name in this book because I didn't want to put someone's name in there that didn't want me to. It's really cool. There's, I think, 13 or 14 different illustrations of the drawings in there that Jose did. And it's a true independent wrestling joke book because I made sure that no one was signed to anything. Not MLW, Ring of Honor, TNA, AEW, none of that. Now, since putting it all together and printing and everything, I know Q got signed to MLW. But this came out beforehand. And I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't able to have like Mance or Dom in here or anyone because they were already signed. But I wanted to stay true to the independent aspect of it. But yeah, like right now I'm selling it $10.
And every wrestler submitted a joke, or it's jokes about the wrestlers?
It's jokes. It's basically jokes with a wrestler's name input into them.
Oh, okay.
Some are aimed more directly than others are. I'm trying to think if. Let me snag a book real quick and I'll give you a sneak peek on it.
Oh, we get a spoiler here.
I'll give you maybe one spoiler. Let's see. Give me I don't want to say give me a wrestler and then not be in there. You know?
Surprise me.
Let's see. Like, you all know Sean Kemp, right?
Love Sean
Kemp. From IFHY, he's a dog.
He's a dog.
So his is, what do Sean Kemp and telephones have in common?
What do they have in common, Nick?
They both have caller ID. Oh my God, that's good. Caller ID. Oh, this you got one out of the 100+ jokes in here.
I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to read it to my daughter at night, and she's not going to get it, but I don't care.
That's fine. Some of them aren't aimed directly at them. I would think so. I think it's pretty kid friendly. There might be one or two jokes that aren't extremely kid friendly, but they're not too vulgar.
Well, it's on brand for you.
It's on brand. No, it's very family friendly. I had a great time making it. It really was a passion project of mine. Like, if it sold one copy, I would still be happy that I was able to put it out and make it, and I would feel accomplished. So far, in 3 days, I've sold more than I expected to, so it's already doing good, and I know it's going to do great at live events.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just waiting to hand you cash for it.
Oh yeah, it's great. So yeah, if anyone wants to buy one, they're $10. I think I just found out it's only $2 shipping and handling now, instead of the advertised $4. So that saves $2. I have PayPal or Venmo, or message me directly. And this is where I can plug my stuff in.
Yes.
On Twitter, where you can mainly get a hold of me. It's Nick NICKIGGY _, which I just changed that a few weeks ago because I realized I'm never going to get Nick Iggy without the underscore because Twitter hates me. everything else, Instagram, just Nick Iggy. You can find me on Nick Iggy on Facebook. The Carnies on Facebook. The Carnies TN, as in Tennessee, on Twitter. Our Pro Wrestling Tees / The Carnies. YouTube, The Carnies. And another thing I've been working on, I've just been working on so many projects this year with the Karaoke Pro, Nick Iggy's Dad Joke Jamboree, the Joke Book, and I've been working on a bunch of videos for my YouTube page, which is called Iggy Plus, IGGY+, kind of a riff on Disney Plus because I love it so much. I love sketch comedy. I love silly jokes and impersonations and whatnot. So I've been working on videos of that I'm going to try to release once a week of like 3 videos all together on Iggy Plus. So be on the lookout for that.
A man for all seasons.
I am. So go subscribe to Iggy Plus on YouTube, please. And buy a ticket to Karaoke Pro and buy There's No Punchline, an independent wrestling joke book.
Awesome. Well, Nick, you're a true friend. You're a master entertainer, and you're a hell of a wrestler.
Thank you so much. You know, I always wanted to be a wrestler, and then I realized, you know what, being a sports entertainer is right up my alley. I think that's what I always wanted to be, but I always called it just being a wrestler. But I am through and through a sports entertainer.
It's very true. Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
And no problem. Thank you for having me, man.